the MojoDojo.
All right. Fireplace chats here in the Mojo Dojo. That's what I'm calling this room, and that's what I'm calling this podcast. I've never done a podcast before or really in depth, like, tried to do my own podcast. I think I've been on a couple here or there and just had some, conversations with a couple other people, but it's something that I've always wanted to do, start my own podcast and just talk about whatever's on my mind, which is usually like guitar related or gear related, video recording. I have a lot of hobbies. We'll go into that in a second. But I've just never actually like taken the time to jump in and do it. And I'm really sorry that I haven't done that. I wish I would have done that a long time ago. I've got a lot going on in my life, and there's a lot to share. There's a lot of like really cool things, and I have a lot of really cool friends that I would love to have on here as well, and just share some of the conversations that we have, because they really are some. There really is some good gold in there. Let me just quickly introduce myself again. The name of this podcast is the Mojo Dojo, and my name is Cliffhanger. I'm a father, a new father to a 1 year old son who's keeping me really busy this whole last year. I was pretty much unable to do a lot of the extracurricular or extra activities that I usually like to do, but hopefully that's starting to change a little bit because I got some cool things planned. I also enjoy making YouTube videos, mostly on guitars, like I was talking about, mostly on gear, guitars. I'm a tone junkie. I like amps. I like pedals. I like all things that cost a lot of money and make a lot of really cool sounds. It's a lot of fun. I have what they call gear acquisition syndrome, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon. It used to be a really bad problem for me, but I've kind of got it under control a little bit, kind of putting that to the side a little bit, thankfully. And I look at everything and I'm like, I got a lot of gear here. I don't need to buy any more freaking gear. All right. So again, guitars, amps, pedals, all that stuff. I also enjoy creepy crawlies, tarantulas. I like to collect tarantulas. They're a lot of fun. Every now and then we might check out some of those guys. Going to Repticon this weekend. Should be pretty sweet. Hopefully we'll pick up a new, maybe one or two baby tees. That's what you call them when they're just, you don't want to say tarantula. You're like really lazy. Like, I don't want to say tarantula. You just call them T. Okay, that's what I do. And that's what a lot of people on the internet and Reddit do, which is where I started doing that in the first place. So, yeah, so I enjoy that. I also enjoy video games. Been playing some lately at night when I can. It's not too much. A game called Outer Worlds, which has been really fun. Audio recording and video recording. So that's a little bit about me. Again, my name's Cliffhanger. This last year has been really a crazy year. My son was born in November last year, and I basically tried to keep up with doing the YouTube thing, and I fell off really hard around May because it just got too crazy. I live in a really small house. My house is like 900 square feet, and there wasn't enough room for all of my stuff and a newborn baby in the home. So I kind of had to stop pursuing that for a little bit and put a lot of that stuff in storage, which really sucked because, one of my hobbies obviously is to do it and to share that information and work on that kind of stuff. So it kind of sucked that I had to put that aside, but obviously, family comes first, and having a son is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So was really stoked to have a son, but it kind of hurt to put that stuff away. That being said, I tried to like shoot videos in the same room as like a crib. Like I would be like shredding guitar right here and like have the crib right here and cameras all up in my face, and I was just like, no, dude, this fucking sucks. I'm not gonna do this. So yeah, I had to put everything in storage, and in the meantime, I decided to build a studio this year because we couldn't move. It was crazy at first when my wife got pregnant. We were like, okay, we're gonna move. We're gonna sell the house. We own our home, and we bought it in 2018, very luckily, and have put a little bit of equity into the home, and we wanted to maybe sell it for another home. But the problem is that interest rates are so high, right? And so we could sell our home, but the cost of homes is still elevated so much that it's just kind of a wash, or I would just be jumping into more debt for potentially a bigger house, but more mortgage payments or a higher mortgage payment, I should say, and a higher tax payment and likely escrow and, all sorts of stuff like that. And I really kind of was like, okay, maybe moving is not the correct option for us because I didn't want to overstep my bounds. I didn't want to put myself or my family into financial dire straits, obviously. So I kept thinking, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Am I going to, tell my son that, he doesn't get a room and he could just stay with us? No, wasn't going to do that, although I thought about it. But instead, what I decided to do was build my own home studio. And that's what I'm sitting in right now. This is the MojoDojo. It is a really cool music home guitar studio that was a tough shed. I started seeing, videos and people talking about taking a tough shed, like you would see at Home Depot or something like that, and converting it into a, nice studio. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So I had a bunch of money that I had saved from, him, on the way. I knew I needed to stop buying so many guitars and kind of, take some money and put it aside. And I saved up as much as I could to build the biggest room possible, or basically the biggest shed possible, and convert it into a badass room of badassery. And that's really what I did. I'll talk a little bit about the process of that here because it was a freaking process. So the room that I'm in now, my home studio here, the MojoDojo, which is what it's called, is 260 square feet, 20 by 13 feet. And it was a heck of a process doing that whole thing. So when we decided that we are going to do it, I basically approached Tough Shed and I said, hey, I want to build, I told them exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to build a studio and I want to go as big as I could possibly afford. What I wanted to do is also put a concrete foundation. So typically, like, I have another shed over on the side of my house where it's there's like a gap. There's like a floor and then there's like a gap here. And when you're walking on it, you can hear the low end thump, thump, thump going. And, that's not great, obviously, for playing loud rock and roll guitars at night or at any time, really, or drums or anything like that. So I asked them if they did concrete foundation, which now I guess Tough Shed is doing that. I guess they previously weren't doing that, but they had just started doing that right when I hit them up, which was absolutely fantastic. The concrete was actually like one of the most expensive parts of the whole thing. But if you are somebody who's wanting to do like a really nice shed or something like that, and you wanted to have the concrete foundation, that's really cool. Keep in mind, it is kind of expensive. It's like $6,000 I paid just for the concrete. Yeah, it was a lot. The whole build of just the shed itself, having them come out and do it, was $19,000, and it was quite expensive. But it's cool. I mean, it's a lot cheaper than buying a fucking house, right? Because if you were to do that, I mean, I'm here in Florida, and homes go for easily $500,000, especially in the neighborhood that I'm in. Is a decent area. And it's just crazy. It was just kind of unobtainable for me. I'm already in a home. I've already put a lot of work and time into it. So this was the best bet for me. Now, there's a couple of things when I went to go decide to build this studio. So we were going to do some things that I didn't end up doing. Like, it was going to originally be just like a blank square room, like really bland, because that would be easiest to treat, right? Like sound wise, and make it sound good. And then I realized, like, well, how boring. Like, one day I might sell this place, and this isn't a commercial studio. This isn't like, I'm not just bringing Joe from whatever local band here to record. Some people I don't know, right? This is just going to be a place where I hang out, shoot videos, and friends. So I added a couple of windows, all right? I added 3 windows here and just some big curtains over them to help, because obviously windows aren't great for audio. But if I ever go to sell this place, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to sell a nice looking room with some nice natural light that can come in and nice windows, which are great quality windows, by the way, versus a, like, oh, just a blank room. Like, oh, I hope you really like studios too, young lady, even though you're probably selling to somebody who's like really freaking old. And like, I hope you like music studios, because that's what this is. No, so it's nice to have converted this into an actual room. And if somebody wanted to run plumbing or something to that, they totally can. The whole permitting process was a freaking nightmare, dude. It's no wonder that like we need Doge to like clean out some of our government crap, because I started this process at the very end of December, like I think right before Christmas, like the week before Christmas, in 2024. Then we get into 2025. I've already paid, Tough Shed, like a down payment, like a bunch of money, like, let's get this going. They basically put in a permit, and we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. And I think it rolled around to like March and I haven't heard anything. They told me it was going to be like 60 days, by the way. They were like, oh, yeah, it's a pretty fast process. But we did have the hurricanes last year, so it can push it back like maybe like 30 to 60 days. I'm like, okay. So when it got to March, I was like, okay, so now we're at like 90 days. And then we got to April and there was nothing. And I'm like, what's going on? It was a freaking mess, dude. And I found out that I kept calling this guy. I had this issue over with one of the permitting guys over at Tough Shed, which really sucks because the sales dude was awesome, but the guy who did the permits, he totally sucked. He didn't know what was going on. I kept, started to be that customer, unfortunately, I feel like, because I kept calling him and he just kept saying, I don't know what's going on, I'll look into it. And we're like well into at May at this point, and it still haven't heard anything. So I kind of took it into my own hands, started calling the city, and I found out because I cut down a tree back here, because I had to freaking cut down a tree because I couldn't put the shed on the side of my house because of a setback line. It makes sense. I cut down a tree back here, which was a sycamore. Well, that's an endangered tree. And now I'm being fined. And my permit was on hold until I can actually get that, evened out. Shoot. First of all, I didn't even want to cut the tree. That sucked. That was like our little family tree. I absolutely love it. And it cost $1,500 to cut it down. So I go and I go into the city hall. I go into the city hall, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, there's a fine. All right, yeah, you weren't supposed to cut that. It's a protected tree. It's $1,500." So basically, I paid 3 G's for cutting this tree. Oh my God. If you're going to cut a tree, guys, make sure that it's not a protected tree, or make sure that you're not doing something that you shouldn't be doing, because that was a expensive mistake. That really, really sucked. This whole time, by the way, like my house is just getting fuller and fuller of crap. And I'm like, what am I going to do? My son's getting older. Like, he needs a bedroom now, but all my gear that I can't fit in storage is still there. And it's just like, it's a freaking mess. I feel so bad for my wife, who's just like, get this done. But she was a trooper through this whole thing. Finally, I get that paid and get it done. And they're like, okay. By the way, this is the reason I said that we need Doge, is because when I had originally called, I was like, yeah, my name's Cliff. Here's my, permit number and all this stuff. And the guy on the phone is like, okay, let me just look it up. Oh, it looks like Ashley. I forget her name. Let's just call her Ashley. It looks like Ashley was on that project, but she hasn't worked here in like 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, was my permit just in like purgatory hell? Like, was it just floating around? Nobody knows. Nobody was going to look into that guy. I was like, that's weird. I'll have to look into that. And I'm like, God dang it, dude. So he finally gets that going. And once he gets that going, I'm able to clear it up. Then I call the guy from Tough Shed, who's supposed to be like my permit guy. And I'm just like, hey, dude, I did this myself, and yeah, thanks. I pushed it through, and the guy's like, oh, okay. Well, then I can go ahead and schedule them to come out. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for nothing. So the whole experience with that guy, 2 thumbs down, but the whole experience with the build process of them doing it and the salesman over at Tough Shed, freaking awesome. And I've never had any issues with them before. It's just that guy was rough. I will say what I'm getting at is that sucked. We got that done. Then we were able to insulate everything. And then we were able to I was looking into do rock wool, and I'll get into more depth on this hopefully in the future. But we ended up doing like a different thermal insulation that is still really good for sound. Putting up the drywall, and then putting in the lights and the walls and painting it, and it's amazing. I'm really glad that I've got this awesome studio. I'm really glad that it's looking so good, and I finally got my stuff back in here. And my son has a room now, and that's all we really wanted at the end of the day, right? Like we wanted, you know, a good family home. We didn't want to move, and I still am able to make my videos and do my stuff because I do a lot of marketing work and a lot of audio work on the side, and video editing and stuff. And I just couldn't do that for a year. It just left a lot of this of myself on the table. So really, really happy. And this is the very first podcast that I've ever done. This has been on my list, and I'm just like, you know what? I've never ever done a podcast before. It's time to do it. So I hope that you'll stick with me, and I hope that you know, if you guys have any questions or want to know anything or talk about certain things, like I'd be happy to chit chat my thoughts on this kind of stuff on anything in the world. But now you know what my interests are and what I am. My background is where I'm at. So yeah, hopefully I hear and speak from you guys soon. By the way, if you want to check out my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called Riff with Cliff. If you're watching this on YouTube, then be sure to like and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys the next time that I see you. Peace.